Hey, y'all, welcome to this episode of Profitology, the podcast where we study and break down the science of creating profit in our lives, our businesses, and our finances, where we dive into the numbers, the systems, and the strategies that entrepreneurs can follow to achieve their dreams. If you haven't joined us before, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Perry Jeffries, also known as the Entrepreneur CFO. I'm the president of Diamond Equity Advisors, a full service investment advisory firm and business consultancy firm located here in Columbus, Ohio, with clients across the country, now actually across the world. We're known as the Cash Flow Concierge Company. So with that being said, y'all, our vision and the reason we created this podcast, Profitology, our goal is to help close the wealth gap one business at a time. So we realize that entrepreneurship is super important, and we would just want to make sure that we play our part and add value to the marketplace to help, entrepreneurs and families achieve their financial goals. So before we get started, we always like to start off with a thought of the day. And the thought of the day is coming from a recommendation that a client of mine sent over to me. She told me I needed to read this book. The book was called Manifest Now. And with the Manifest Now, as I was listening to it this morning, one of the things that it talked about was focusing on adding value, and the universe will take care of the rest. And I thought that was just really, really powerful, because a lot of times we can be focused on 10 million different things as entrepreneurs. And it just kind of simplified things for me. Focus on adding value, and the universe will take care of the rest. So with that being said, y'all, I want to take some time and introduce our guest today, our special guest today. And many of you know, one of our core values with our company is being what's called an ecosystem engineer. And what we mean by that is that we believe that we win by helping others win, providing that value, if you will. So, our guest today, we just reconnected here recently, and it was kind of funny. She came on board as a client here recently, joining our past program, and she was like, "Perry, do you remember when I showed you a home years ago?" And I was like, "Oh my God!" And it was about 20 years ago. We ain't gonna share our ages today, but it was about 20 years ago. So I like, Lord have mercy. So you talking about the ecosystem, how things, just staying around good people and things circle back around. But I thought about that. I said, that's amazing. But as long I've been in my industry as an advisor for almost 20 years, which means you probably have been in your industry for just as long. So with that being said, man, we have a veteran. I'm gonna read a little bit of her bio right here. So our special guest today is Stacy Shelby. And just a little bit here. So with the belief that real estate is more than just, designation and titles, Stacy has rocked the real estate world. As a real estate agent, a talented stager, and an amazing coach, Stacy helps clients reach their home goals. After successfully staging and selling her listings, Stacy realized that homes enhanced through staging sold faster. Not only did they sell faster, but at a higher price as well. Shortly after this realization, Stacy launched her own home staging company, 3 Element Designs LLC. Along with the high-level services she provides to her clients, she also offers hand-on staging and design consultations to realtors and investors alike. So this is a powerful space here, especially with real estate being, always a hot topic. So with that being said, y'all, allow me to introduce shoot, I was her client first, like 20 years ago. My client, friend, Stacy Shelby. Stacy, what's going on, sister? Glad to have you on here with us. Now, how are you doing today?
I am doing all right. Thank you so much for having me. And that is too funny, because every time I think about that, I'm like, oh my God, we have known each other forever.
Right. It's so crazy. It's like, man, and we got brought back together here recently, and I said this is funny. Yes.
Yeah,
So Stacy, tell us a little bit about yourself, right? So we see here realtor, stager, coach. Tell us a little bit about what you do, and just tell us a little about who you are.
So I have been in the real estate industry since 2003. I
Mhm.
started off because I wanted to flip houses. And back then, it really wasn't a thing, right? Like, there were a few people doing it, but no one really knew that flipping houses was a thing. And a friend of mine took me to see one of his houses that he was flipping. And I was just like, well, how you going to do that? That doesn't make sense. Oh, that's got to be illegal. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And, so I kind of dismissed it. And then I bought my own house, and my realtor was amazing. And I wasn't an agent at the time. And I was like, you know what? I want to help people just like me who are first-time home buyers buy homes. And I want to be just like my realtor was, because he was so patient. He was so helpful. And in the meantime, I'll be able to learn more about real estate and maybe start, and it wasn't called flipping back then. It wasn't even a term, but maybe I can invest in real estate. So I got my license, and I ended up selling my own listings as I would get them pretty quickly. Because every time I would walk in a house, I would see that, my client's house, they maybe needed some curtains, or they maybe needed placement of furniture and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, you know what? I think we need to do some different things here. And my listings started selling fast. And I was like, wait a minute, I think I'm on to something here. And even then, staging wasn't really a thing either. So I just decided I was going to start staging for my clients, and just kept doing that, staging for my clients. And then all of a sudden, other realtors started seeing my work, investors started seeing my work, and I went from, storing my inventory in my house to a 2,500 square foot warehouse.
Wow.
Yep. So now what I do predominantly is on the staging side, I typically stage predominantly for investors who are flipping houses. I do more vacant properties. That's actually what I love to do, because I have more creativity with being able to work with these spaces. With COVID and everything, we're not doing a ton of occupieds, but I do virtual consultations with a lot of clients, because a lot of people who aren't comfortable with having us come in their house either. So we'll do, because they're like, well, I don't know, you're still, an essential service, and you're out there working. I'm feeling weirded out about, you coming into my home. What can you do? So I'll do a virtual with them. And then, and actually that's a good way too, because it saves that client money. And then I stage all of my listings. So typically all the listings that I get, and I predominantly work with first-time home buyers or sellers who are actually either relocating or they are downsizing. And so I go in and I help them kind of get the house prepared. And it does help. It does really help a lot. So that's pretty much, that's me. That's what I do. And I started coaching probably a little bit probably over a year, a little bit over a year ago. Started coaching, and now we're bringing that platform online. So now my coaching will be online. I'm actually working on the online portion of it right now. And we've got a couple of students waiting to get in the program right now. But yeah, that's it. That's me.
Staying busy. So it's a couple things here as I was kind of listening to your story. Literally, you got into the business because you had a good experience with a realtor and buying your home. And it's like, man, I want to be able to, again, kind of, we talked about it earlier, be able to provide that value to other people as well. So it's kind of interesting whenever we hear stories about, entrepreneurs and how they got into what they do. And your story, I love your story, because literally you were on the consumer side. And it's like, man, this was a really good experience. Other people need to experience this as well. And then you went on to being, kind of on the side now, providing the service. So a couple things here, man, since 2003. So we're 17 years doing this. How have you been able to stay in the industry that long?
God. Nothing but God, seriously, because, I was, when the market crashed in 2008.
Yeah, remember that, y'all. Jeesh.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it started kind of looking weird around 2006, right? Things started getting a little weird, and then it really took that deep dive. Perseverance you've got to, if it's something that you really love, and that's how people always ask me, they're like, how did you stay in? And, my assistant, she emailed me the other day, and she lives in Indiana, and her daughter is a realtor. And she was out on showings with her, and she was just like, I don't know how you do what you do, because this is a lot of work. And I'm like, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
Truly have to love it. And so I think if it wasn't for God and my love for serving, I love educating. I love educating buyers on how to buy, what that process is. Because especially first-time home buyers, because first-time home buyers are wet behind the ears, right? They're new to the process. They don't know what to do. They're nervous. They're afraid. There's a lot of moving parts in real estate. And when you were trying to buy back, there's a lot of moving parts, and there's more now. And then from a seller standpoint, educating sellers on what you need to do to get your house ready, right? Because they think their houses are amazing, right? We all do. I think my house is amazing. But if I were to sell my house, I'd probably have to hire another stager who can look at my property with naked eyes, as opposed to
Lord.
attached to it.
Yep.
So I love and helping walk people through it. And I have an elderly client right now that I'm working with, and she just lost her son. And you may have seen my Facebook post about it last week. She lost her son, and she's in the midst of selling her house, buying another house, and then her son passed away. And so she needed me to be there. And everybody doesn't have what it takes to be able to deal with something like that, because in their mind, it's about that dollar. It's about, I got to sell that house, right?
Right.
And I was like, no, what do you need? Can I come help you? I'll come help you pack. I'll come just sit with you. You need me to come get the dog and take her out for a walk.
Yeah.
That's what our clients need. And my realtor, when I first started, buying, looking for my house, he was that same way. He was very hands-on. And I always knew I wanted to be that way, because I care for people. I pray with my clients. I sit with them. I talk to them. And that's important, because they need that. And I think that helped get me through as well.
This is amazing. So I'm taking my notes here, and man, I appreciate you sharing that, because in this entrepreneurship journey, I don't think we talk about faith enough. And and faith has gotten me through many a thing. So I appreciate you sharing that. And what you said here, which really resonated with me, is a couple things. But one, you got to love what you do, right? It looks sexy from the outside, like, oh, you got your own business, you're doing your own thing. But you and I both know it's a grind. It's hard work. So if you're gonna grind and work that hard, you better love what you do. And something you said here, which I thought was super powerful, focusing on education and serving. Like, I don't know how you can really go wrong with that combination there, Stacy. When you have faith and you're focused on and doing something that you love, and you focus on education and serving. If you do that, I can't say that's the 100% surefire recipe for success, but it definitely keeps you in the game almost 20 years, because those clients really appreciate that. I know, me being in my industry for so long, when they know that I care about them. Like, I had a client, and they're in Louisiana, and text them like, hey man, you guys okay? Hurricane hit you, you need anything, right? So that's so key. So I think that's super powerful there, y'all. So people listening to this as a takeaway, a value bomb here, or a gem. You got to love what you do. And if you focus on education and serving, you will be able to maintain in your business. Something you said here, and you said it very, very quickly, but it was super powerful as well. You mentioned something about, hey, if I was to sell my home, I would have to get a stager to stage my home to get that fresh set of eyes. That kind of like, that rung a bell, like ding, 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 ding. So many times we try to do everything on our own. And it's kind of like, kind of in my space, I tell people all the time, they say, hey, Perry, what do you do? I'm that second set of eyes looking over your shoulder to make sure that you don't make the wrong financial decisions, and tell you when to turn left when you may be thinking turn right. Speak to that a little bit, because I thought that was really interesting, right? So why would you just elaborate on a little bit more? Why would you hire a stager and you're a stager, why would you hire a stager to, stage your property? Because I'll say this before you go. Somebody asked me before on an interview, Perry, what was the biggest mistake you've ever made as a financial advisor? And they thought I was going to say something like, oh, I lost some clients some money. Nope, that wasn't it. The biggest mistake I made as a financial advisor was not hiring a financial advisor, because again, we're mostly attached to our stuff. So speak to that just a little bit, please.
Well, it's funny that you would say that too, because, you always hear coaches even need a coach, right? So my coach, all of my coaches that I have, they all have coaches. You're my financial coach, right? So you got a coach. And it's the same thing when it would come to me selling my house, because I think I'm so emotionally attached to the house, right? And I see that with my sellers. A lot of my sellers, especially if they're going to be living in the home, they're so emotionally attached to the house. And so you come in there and you say, hey, I want this done and I need this done and this is going to work. And they're like, oh, but no, I love that. It cost $1 million. And I'm like, yeah, but buyers don't know that it cost $1 million. All they know is it doesn't look like something that they would want in their home. And if we sell this house, we've got to make some changes. And so I would be the very same way, emotionally attached to certain things in my house. I need to step away and let somebody else see it, because they're going to look at my house in a completely different light, even though I'm a stager. They're going to look at my house in a completely different light and help reel me in, because sometimes I need to get reeled in too, right? And so having another stager come in and stage my house for me. Now, granted, I probably would want to work with them, right? And just tell me what you're thinking and let's work together a little bit. But for the most part, I kind of need to be hands off, because I need to let them do them so I can walk away. And, I'm working, I'm busy.
No doubt. Absolutely. Man.
I got to coach other people how to learn how to stage houses. I got my real estate business. I got with my VAs. Here, go ahead and do it. And it takes it off my plate. And then I know somebody's doing it that I trust.
No doubt. That's just, I think, just a crazy valuable lesson and just in and of that sense, y'all. So, just having that, I think you have to have a certain level of humility and a certain level of kind of like self-awareness to be like, hey, I'm a stager, but I'm gonna have somebody else stage, or hey, I'm a financial advisor, but I'm gonna take some financial advice from somebody else. I believe that's really how we grow this thing, right? And stay in business and achieve success, because you have to get those second set of eyes to come in and look at your stuff, and don't feel like you always have to do it all the time. Right. A lot of times I think that's how we are as entrepreneurs, like, oh, well, I got to figure out how to be X, Y, Z and the whole nine. So I think that's really, really good. Before we get off of that one, if I think about an analogy here and you kind of staging that house, I just thought about, somebody's business, right? Imagine somebody's business is that house, and you want to make your business, you want to bring in that law of attraction. Well, sometimes you got to take a step away from it and let somebody else come in and say, hey, if you want to attract this client, then we need to move some things around. And that's what I was thinking about as she's going through that, Stacy. So that's just, I think, a phenomenal analogy. So this is really, really good. So real estate, staging, tell us how you got into the coaching. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I've always wanted, from a little girl, I wanted to teach. And I've had this passion for real estate and interiors, I think, my whole life.
Okay.
And once I started staging, I actually started coaching, because I knew I needed a coach. And my coach actually brought it to me, because we were working through some stuff at one of our retreats. And she was just saying, have you ever thought about coaching? And I'm like, well, I love teaching, She's like, well, you teach buyers, and because I speak at home buyer workshops and seller workshops. And she's like, well, why don't you coach? And I'm like, oh, no, that's too much. And she's probably watching right now. She's going to laugh. I said, oh, that's too much. I don't have time for all of that. It's too much to be doing. And she kept talking to me about it. And then, one day I was actually on the phone. I was in a real estate group and I was
Uh-huh.
on the phone with one of the agents who also works for Coldwell Banker. She
Uh-huh.
works for Coldwell Banker in the Carolinas. And she and
Uh-huh.
I had a phone call. We were talking and I just happened to say, yeah, because I also teach other women how to start staging businesses. And she was like, really? And I said, oh, shoot. Yeah, I do. I said, well, okay, that's good to know. I'll have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
2 months later, she called me and she said, hey, you got a second? I was like, yeah. She said, I want to join your coaching program. I was like, okay.
Right.
And I was still in the process of kind of putting it together and everything,
Yeah.
I was just kind of in the process of getting all my thought process together and all that, and
Yeah.
getting my outline together. And I wasn't even completely ready. I wasn't completely ready for that. But then probably a week after that, one of my investors, his wife, she called me and she's like, I've been calling around and I want to learn how to stage. I want to start a business and no one really wants to talk to me. And I was like, you know what? The reason why no one wants to talk to you is because you're their competition. So
Ooh. Uh-huh.
they're not going to want to train you. So I was like, you know what? I'm cool with it. I said, if you want to join my coaching program, this is when it starts. And that's kind of how it happened. I was planning it, but it kind of happened a little bit faster than what I had thought it was going to happen. And it was actually great. It was a really good experience. And now I've got people waiting to be in the program. So,
Wow.
yeah.
This is like, hey y'all, and if I'm keeping it 100 with our listeners and whatnot, we didn't script this, and this is all just tying together so lovely. But going back to kind of our thought of the day, you add the value. When you focus on adding value, kind of the universe to take care of everything else. So you were already adding value, and people, it's like, you know what, I need that, and that created another stream of income for you. So I think that's huge. But as I'm listening to your story here, a couple of things that's just resonating with me, I want to make sure that our listeners get this. Reading your bio, real estate agent, stager, coach. Somebody would think like, oh, she's doing a whole lot, but you're not, because everything is in your same area of expertise and in your passion, and they build on each other. So as you're helping people build their practices, you're sharpening your sword. And because if you got to teach me how to stage, you're getting that much better, because you have to be at a certain level to be able to teach others, and to be able to stay at that level, you have to keep learning. So I just love how this ties together. And the lesson I would like people to really take away from this is it's cool to have multiple streams of income, but your core needs to be the same. So you can't have multiple streams of income and then over here, you're selling ice cream, and then over here you're trading Forex, and then over here, you got something else going on. So I love how you've put this together. I don't know if you did that intentionally or kind of just happened that way, but all of these really mesh well with each other. So that's really, really big there.
Yeah.
This piece, the next one I'm at, as I'm reading my notes here, the piece I want to really kind of I want to dive on. One, not being completely ready, and two, you're their competition. Those like hit me like boom. So let's talk about not being completely ready and entrepreneurship. How do you navigate that whole piece? Because I still don't know if I'm ready. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm ready. So like, how do you navigate that in your head space, Stacy? Like, oh, wasn't ready for that. Like, how do you handle that?
Well, one of the things that I found, that my coach always said this, and it was like, start ready, start when you're not ready, right? And I hear it all over the place too, not just with coaches, and you see all these motivationals, and I do a lot of following of real estate coaches, and we have a real estate coach in our office. And that's always seems to be the theme. Start when you're not ready, and just start when you're not. But I'm a perfectionist, and I like things to be like perfect. I mean, it's got to be on point, and I don't want to jump out there until it's ready to do it. And I think with that, I was actually starting it, at the recommendation of my coach, because she knew me and she knew I like to teach, and
Yep.
her thing was, it's still in your realm, like you said, right?
Yep.
It's
Yep.
still all under what you do.
Yep.
So you're not really doing something different, but you're adding adding an additional revenue stream.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, but okay, great, let me get it all together. And I think sometimes now I can see that you do have to sometimes start when you're not ready, because if we wait, then fear gets in the way, procrastination gets in the way. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna be clear and transparent, because that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I procrastinated a little bit. There was some fear going on.
Yeah.
I think part of that is that perfectionist in me, where I want it to be perfect, because I like serving. And because I like serving, I want to give the best that I can give. So I feel like if it's not all the way perfect and pretty and shiny, then I can't give it. But then if you don't just do something, it doesn't get done. And so I've been reading The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, The One Thing, both by Gary Keller, who is a real estate, he was a real estate agent, but he was over Keller Williams, and he's amazing.
I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know the book.
I think I just read something, he just stepped down or something, but amazing, two amazing books. There was another book that we got in our coaching group. You're a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero, I think her name is. And those books have just been playing in my head and helping me to kind of step away from any discomfort or fear that I had about starting when I wasn't really ready. But I also believe too that when I put it in the atmosphere, I sent God the message that I'm ready, even though in my I really didn't feel ready. But when I said, okay, I'm gonna start doing this, and I started writing down my outline and all that stuff, God was like, okay, I'm about to give this to you. What you gonna do with it? Right. And so I boom, just started it. So you kind of do have to just do it and not be afraid, and just, it may not be perfect. It may not be all the way there, but you kind of have to just start.
Man, that's so powerful right there, especially for entrepreneurs, whether they're a new entrepreneur or been in the game for a while, kind of like you and I have. That's huge. So, that fear of, the procrastination and the fear and, it has to be perfect. I got to share a really quick story here, because you took me back till about, you took me back to about 2000. I think it had maybe 2007, maybe 2006, 2007, I was in some deep thought, and you know what I'm saying? And folks who know this story know, I said, man, God spoke to me. He said, launch the business now. And literally I went in to typing stuff up. I put together a business, and then he said now. So I said, I'll listen. He said, oh, you mean like right now? So this was on like a Saturday. I started typing stuff up, and then I sent an email out to, I don't know, 20, 30 people at my house that next day. I'm talking about the next day. Hey, I'm launching this company. It's called Financially Fit. It's spelled PHY, Naturally Fit. We're combining health and wealth. Like literally, I think I had maybe about 10, 15 people in my living room the next day. And I didn't have all the answers. I didn't really know how we was going to make money. I knew I was passionate about both, and we was running with it. So literally started a business, and that's the business that we operate under to this day. And that business literally was started in a living room in a 2-bedroom condo, and pulled together in less than 12 hours. So that's absolutely powerful right there. I love that. That's really good.
It's doable. And sometimes you gotta, like, I've coached students for free, because I was like, okay, I want to do this, and I did 2 people for free at no charge, right? And then I got my paying clients, and now it's like, now I'm not afraid of it, but now because I'm taking it to the online space. I'm trying to scale it now, because I want to make sure that it's scaled and I can serve more people. I don't feel that same fear, even though I still want it to be perfect.
Yep. And I love that, because it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, as far as the education and the serving. How can I serve more people. Hey, I'm going this route because this route gives me the opportunity to touch more lives. And the more lives we touch, obviously, I'm saying, we'll be taken care of in that sense. And that's a lesson I learned in business a long time ago. Like, if you focus on serving people and how many people you can service and serve, that's your win. So like, the one thing with our team, they know our goal, our one thing isn't a revenue goal, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we measure the revenue goal. So don't get me wrong, we definitely look at the numbers. I'm a numbers nerd and a financial guy, so I'm definitely looking at the numbers. But our one thing is to help 10 businesses per month. So that's a service goal. That is a help goal. That's an adding value goal, right? So I just love that you keep that always top of mind, and we always go back to that whole piece. So, Stacey, let me ask you this. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing? I know that's right.
If I were not doing what I'm doing now, I don't know what I would be doing. I think maybe I would be doing it would be something creative because I'm a creative.
Mm-hmm.
I used to design custom artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought that was kind of the avenue I was going in at one point. And a friend of mine, she always has these art shows, and she invited me to be. She had been inviting me for probably 2 or 3 years, and then I finally had enough stuff to come, and I went to the show, and I was the newbie there.
Yeah.
All of my artwork, and I actually sold more than everybody there, and I was the new person on the block. I was like the rookie, and I
Yeah.
sold all of my artwork. And so I thought that was where I was going, but maybe that's what I would be doing, is my custom artwork, because I do enjoy that. It was a nice creative outlet.
Yeah.
And what I know that I will ultimately be doing once, everything is where I need it to be, my retirement is investment. So I'll be
Yeah.
doing more investing in real estate. I'm kind of doing a little bit of it now, but I'm
Yeah.
not really focusing on it because I'm really focusing on, honing in and fine tuning my real estate sales and my staging stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but the real estate investment, that's my retirement,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. But yeah, I don't know. That's probably what I'd be doing. Maybe my artwork and my real estate investing if I wasn't doing this.
Yep. Honestly, I don't know what I'll be doing either. I asked myself that question the other day. I said, okay, if I wasn't doing this, what I'll be doing? And I was like, I think I would just be harassing my daughters and being at their school all the time and coaching them. A lot of people don't know that I'm a former school teacher. So my first job out of college, other than working at GNC, was I was a school teacher. I actually ended up teaching at my old middle school, then my old high school, where I was the biology teacher. So I'll probably become a teacher and just harass my daughters all day. That's probably what I'll do. That's what I enjoy a whole lot. So they're in the back here listening, like, oh Lord, Dad wants to come harass us.
Right.
But no, I don't know, because when you find what you're passionate about, it's hard to even think about doing anything different because you kind of found what you're passionate about, right?
Okay.
So that's big. What advice would you give, an entrepreneur who's not necessarily looking to get into your industry, but just entrepreneurship in general? And the reason I'm asking you this question, we've seen the stats, 83% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. Entrepreneurship, it looks good on the outside, but it's really hard. A lot of companies don't make it through. A lot of businesses don't make it through. 17 years in this real estate game. Kudos to you. That's phenomenal, right? To see that done. What would you tell? Like, what advice would you give an entrepreneur who's maybe in their first 2 or 3 years, and let's say, shoot, they're getting hit in the head with the pandemic, like most of us are right now? Like, what advice would you give them?
Wow. I would probably say, don't give up. Depending on where they are in their business. Because I have a friend who, her business was hit really, really hard. And I remember when it first started, and, my business got a little hit, and I was whining and complaining. And she was just like, you know what? She said, you need to stop. And she was so nice the way she said it too. But she was basically telling, you need to stop all that whining and crying, because she had more overhead than me.
Yeah.
But she kept going, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think I would tell entrepreneurs, don't quit,
Mm-hmm.
keep going, especially if you're just starting. If you just started a business and then COVID hit and it's like, dang, what am I going to do? Slow and steady wins the race. And that's what I'm I'm really learning that a whole lot more now, that slow and steady wins the race. And I teach that in my coaching program too, that you have to start with the foundation and then take your time to grow things, and always look back at your foundation. And if things have changed for you because of COVID, how how do you pivot? And as an entrepreneur, that's what we've got to know how to do. We've got to be able to pivot. We've got to be able to shift. I was in the middle of a coaching program when COVID hit. And so my students were all freaking out, right? And I knew they were going to be. I didn't hear from them, but when we had our monthly call, I was like, okay, so I want to talk to you guys about COVID. And one of the girls was just like, oh, I'm so glad because I'm nervous. What are we going to do? And I'm like, you got to pivot. This doesn't mean that you can't do business, but let's start getting creative and start thinking about how can we shift and what can we do to still serve our clients and still serve our business. So I would tell entrepreneurs, think that way, think creatively, and think, how do you shift? How do you pivot? What do you have? What do you have now that you can use in your business to continue to keep going? What other revenue streams can you pull from your business? Everybody's going online right now, right? So maybe, like, perfect example, my plumber was over here and he was working on some stuff at the house. He broke something and then he left to go, get some supplies, and his car broke down. So his truck broke down. He's not been back here in a couple of weeks. And so he's getting discouraged because his business is very, very it's people oriented. Mistakes happen, and people, you know how people are, that, oh, you messed up stuff. So he's stressing out, and I'm like, calm down. Think about, maybe if he's like, well, I'm thinking I may have to shut the business down. And I said, well, why don't you think about going online? Why don't you teach up and coming plumbers, aspiring plumbers, how to be plumbers, right? So don't give up. Just think about a way that you can switch up. Think about something else that you can do that can bring in income for you.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. It's the pivot, right? You gotta know how to pivot. And I'm gonna go back to, because you've mentioned it now. If I have counted the number of times, I haven't, but I bet you if I have, it's probably been mentioned about 10 times now. How can you continue to serve your client, but also serve your business? I love that. You said that. I was writing that down. I said, that's powerful. How can you continue to serve your clients and serve your business? So to your point, hey, we go online, I'm saying, teach other plumbers how to be a plumber, right? Having Zoom calls, right? Coaching calls, you can do that whole piece. Like, what is that pivot gonna be? I think you even mentioned something earlier from a consultation standpoint, like, hey, folks don't want you in their crib right now because I don't know where you've been, but you know what? Let's do a Zoom call and I can still give you some guidance and consult you on what you need to do to stage that property, where you can get the best value and get it off and get it sold pretty quickly. So I love that. Yes, you got to be creative and always go back to, as you said right here, again, super powerful, your foundation. You said, go back to your foundation and review your foundation. So like, what is the foundation of your business? What is the core of your business? Who are you serving and how are you serving them? And kind of like church, right? Churches got shut down. We go to one church, big shout out to Pastor Greg out there. And the pivot was, you know what? We're going to do service online. We're going to have the musicians in the back, 6 feet apart. And we enjoyed that. We jumped on YouTube live and was able to watch that. So it's the pivot. So you continue to serve. So, hey, y'all, if you're hearing this and you're listening to this now, and we're still in the middle of the pandemic, remember that from a takeaway from Stacy here is, continue to serve, review your foundation, go back to your foundation and ask yourself, how can I continue to serve my clients as well as serve my business? Sister, that's super powerful. All right, so let's go back to kind of where we started the conversation here. Realtor, stager, coach, how can we support your business. So I guess my question is, so who are you serving? Who are your clients? And how do they get in contact with you? Because what we want to make sure that we do, we love our clients. And I tell people all the time that we actually have a unfair advantage because our clients are super dope. We learn as much from them as they learn from us. And we want to make sure that, we can continue to, shine a light and highlight our clients to send some business your way. So tell us, who you're looking for as clients, who you help, and how they can contact you.
So my clients, my real estate clients are typically sellers who are downsizing,
Okay.
or even relocating, because a lot of times, they're relocating to maybe another state, but generally that seller who needs to get their house on the market. And really right now we need listings. So for everybody out there who's listening, if you are thinking about selling your house, this is an amazing time. This is kind of a shameless little plug, but we don't have enough listings on the market.
Yeah.
Because we just don't. I mean, it's down like, I don't know. I saw something a couple of weeks ago, like 1% or something,
Yeah.
of listings. And now we're coming into that season where people don't put their houses on the market anyway because
Right.
the holiday.
It's getting cold, holidays, all of that. Yeah.
Exactly. That may be a little different though, because some people aren't really doing the whole holiday thing now, because a lot of people aren't going to be, having
Yeah.
a lot of gatherings and all of that because of,
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
But we do need listings. And so for me, what I do is I service, like I said, I serve clients who are selling their homes to help them to get that house ready so that we can prepare it and you can get top dollar for it in the least amount of time, right?
Mhm.
From a buyer standpoint, buyers that I work with predominantly are first-time home buyers, who are building new homes. That's
Okay.
kind of the thing that I've been doing more recently, is helping
Mhm.
buyers with their new home, right, as
Mhm.
opposed to going out and looking at an existing home. So new home meaning new construction, a new building
Mm.
ground up.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
believe it or not, a lot of first-time home buyers are building
Yeah.
because, again, with COVID, right? So,
Right. That totally makes sense.
yeah,
Totally
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
And since I actually stage most of my listings, probably 98% of them I stage, that ties right into the staging business. So 3 Element can come in and stage those listings. Those sellers that I'm working with are also investors as well. So if there's any investors out there who are flipping their homes, they're looking to get that house on the market and they're looking for cost effective staging options, that's us. We definitely work with investors, and that's my predominant, like I said, is vacant stagings, which is what we love to do.
Got it. Love that. And then on the coaching side, are your doors still open for coaching as well?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good. And then who are you looking for on the coaching side?
We coach women who are looking to start a home staging business. They are typically women who are either switching from a career because they've had this passion for interiors and
Mhm.
they love design, but they're just not sure what to do. We
Mhm.
also have an internship that we offer too. So I do
Mhm.
offer internships. So sometimes people will go through the program and they're like, you know what, I just realized I don't want to start a business, because
Mhm.
my coaching program is different in that it is not, I'm not giving all this extra fluff. You're
Mhm.
getting fluff and you're getting the nice stuff about it. But like you said earlier, being an entrepreneur it's not as easy as what people think it is.
Right.
And running a home staging business is not as easy as what people think it is. So I definitely teach my students both. And then how do you maintain it? How do you start it? How do you grow it? And how do you maintain it? Right. And
Mhm.
if decide that you go, oh my gosh, I don't want to deal with all of that business stuff. I just want to stage houses, because our assistants, that's what they don't want to stage. They don't want to own businesses. They just want to stage, right?
Gotcha.
So that's
Gotcha.
that woman that we look for in our coaching program, is the one who is coachable. They're teachable. They want to start a business. They think they want to start a business. Generally, they are moving from a career that
Mhm.
they just didn't really want to be in, and they've always wanted to be in interiors, and this is a good route for them to go.
Got it. Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. And then how do they connect with you? So I know we have a website here, but how do folks reach out to you? How do they connect with you? Get on your radar, things of that nature.
So I can be reached at my website. Obviously, there is a contact page there where people can reach me. I can be reached.
What's that website address for the people who are listening in?
It's StaceyShelby.com.
Cool.
And StaceyShelby.com.
Awesome.
That'll take you to my homepage, and you can either look at real estate or staging. And there's a contact page, so you can contact me there. You can also reach me on Facebook as well, and LinkedIn, all the social media platforms except for Twitter.
Right. I don't use Twitter a lot either. Like that seems like too much work. That seems like a whole nother job to get on there and tweet all the time. That's amazing to me.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Those are the best ways to reach me, and they could always reach me by cell phone as well too.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Cool. So in closing, something I want to share here. I want to give a quick shout out here to Felicia Fraser, who actually reconnected us after almost 20 years and got us back together. So give a big shout out to Felicia there for that. And then man, I have truly enjoyed having you on here. There were so many gems as I was taking my notes here. And people, if you find value in this, don't hoard it. Please share this. Share this with your share this with friends, family, other entrepreneurs, because there were so many powerful takeaways. But the things that really stuck out in my mind was education, service, and have faith. And Stacy, really appreciate you sharing your story with us. Saying that transparency. Saying we both know that this entrepreneur thing is not easy, but hey, we've been at it almost 20 years now, so we got something right. So we got something right. So we're gonna continue to build, y'all. So get y'all some mentorship. Something else that Stacy spoke to as a reoccurring theme here is, hey, my coach's coach, and I'm in a coaching program. Always continue to grow, y'all. Don't ever stagnate, because when you start to stagnate, that means that you can't continue to add value. And for you to continue to add value to the marketplace, you got to continue to grow. So share this, y'all. Go check us out at perryjeffries.com. You can check us out on Instagram, YouTube. But more importantly, y'all, if you receive some value, please share this, and then definitely go check out our client, Stacey Shelby, on her website, StaceyShelby.com, and let us know if this was valuable to you. So with that being said, sis, appreciate you joining me. This was absolutely fire. I got a bunch of gems. I'm excited. I'm gonna go digest some of this stuff myself, and we'll talk to you here soon. All right.
All right. Thank you, Perry. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.